Are you feeling the call of the garden? Well, you should be. We're getting close to May 24th, which is the date that you technically shouldn't probably plant anything before because there's a risk of frost. However, we are getting close to that time, and I know I have an itch to share some information on the power of gardening for this video, part 1, and in part 2, actually some tips and tricks on gardening with people who have dementia. Not a lot of people realize that gardening has a really broad positive aspect on our lives. It can be psychological, emotional, physical, you name it. I'm going to go through this with you, and you're going to be a pro. So why do we bother gardening? Well, it's more than just fresh air. It's sensory stimulation first. I remember talking to one of our clients in the day program about why she enjoyed being in our garden so much. And she said that when she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it made her slow down. It made her, because she had to live in the moment. And so she would be in the garden and she would slow down and take the time to listen to the birds, to see the chipmunks, those annoying little chipmunks. She would smell things, the flowers, just everything. It was like all of her senses were just on fire. And she didn't have that ability before having her diagnosis of Alzheimer's. So I really took that to heart. And I realized that one of the ways that I enjoy gardening is doing exactly that. Taking the time to breathe, to smell the different flowers, to listen to the birds. Trust me, listen to robins. They sound very different in the morning versus in the evening. Random fact for you. Also just touching all kinds of things, soil and different plants and different smells. So sensory stimulation is really big for anyone, no matter who we are and if we have some form of dementia. Another reason to garden is exercise. For anyone who has done that first day of garden cleanup, man, you feel it the next day. I know I sure did this past Sunday, but that can be our back, it can be our hands, you name it. It's a full body workout. Plus, it has the ability to help people if they're having issues with gross motor skill or fine motor skills. So there's different ways that actually for people who struggle with arthritis, even just manipulating soil, it's a great activity. And man, that smell, it's amazing. As well, gardening tools can be adapted. I'm going to talk about this in the second video, but there's lots of ways that you can do gardening in a way that's adapted and safe. There's an emotional and a psychological benefit. There's such a sense of pride and accomplishment. Our self-confidence goes up and our self-esteem when, you know what, we realize that we grew the biggest tomatoes on the block. Or, you know what, maybe you just grew something for the very first time, the first cucumber plant or the first flower, or you planted seeds and they came up for the very first time. It's incredible. So for us, from an emotional and psychological aspect, huge benefit. Socialization. Gardening with someone is a wonderful way to bring people together. There's the ability to reminisce, to tell jokes, to just spend time together. And you know, as a caregiver, it's important for you to maybe take the lead sometimes, and we're going to talk about that in part 2, but to take the lead and you know, get conversation going and share certain facts that may seem really nerdly, but they're actually kind of fun. And you can actually find some of those facts and activities on our website. So, what do you need? Well, I'm going to suggest that you always have all of your supplies at hand, because it really isn't fun when you start to do a gardening task and then you realize, shoot, you left something back in the house or in the shed and you have to run and get it. So try and make sure you have all of your tools, if they're hand tools, if it's pots, if it's soil, your flowers, your seeds, water. Water for the plants, and certainly water for you and the person you're caring for or you're helping, and sunscreen, and definitely a place also to sit, because sometimes it can get quite hot and it is a lot of work to do some gardening, even if you're just planting pots. Fundamentally, when we're gardening, we all really want success. We want things to maybe be perfect. We want that biggest tomato. We want to have the most beautiful flowers. And When you're living with dementia, that's often not the case, and not even just with dementia, just being a gardener in general. How often do we have things turn out exactly as we dream? Not always. It's about the process, and we need to remember that. It's not that we have the most beautiful pot. It's, wow, we put something together, and we watered it and we took care of it, and look at how amazing it is. And who cares if the stake isn't in the middle, what if the grass is on the side? And we're going to talk about that a bit more in part 2 video, but that's the biggest thing I really challenge people who want to get gardening is have some patience. I know that's not always possible, but that's what gardening, it forces us to do, because plants don't generally grow overnight. And it really take the time to be in the moment with the person that you're caring for, be in the moment for yourself, and really just enjoy that space. So please join me in part 2 to learn some tips and tricks on gardening.